some people were saying like, oh, travel is banned, which since it's like really close to Christmas, everyone was freaking out.
You need to tell us what's happening. Are you safe? They were very worried.
Very surprised about the whole situation was resolved in less than 2 hours.
They were really peaceful, democratical way.
I feel like something really cool about Korean people is this community feeling I feel like Koreans have.
Koreans have put in a lot of effort to protect what they believe in, so I think it's very admirable.
I'm Alessia from Italy and I'm a student here in my first year. For the first time I came here in 2022 at the end of the year.
What was your first impression here about the martial law?
I was actually on a video call with my sister and I didn't know what was happening, but the thing is like we have this X account shared together and then she was actually the one that told me maybe you should take a look at the notification because something is happening there. I didn't notice at first, I was very into our conversation. So she was the one that told me. So I was like, okay, I'll call you later. Let me just see what's happening. Sounds like something I should be worried about. But I don't really know well about foreign politics. After I was like, okay, that sounds scary. But the thing is, all my Korean friends were like, yeah, just go to sleep. It's gonna get solved very quickly. They told me not to worry. So I wasn't very worried, but I was shocked because I never heard something like this happening, you know.
Did you have any call from your embassy?
No, I didn't.
Then how about your family? Did you got a call or a message?
Oh yes, of course. They were all so worried, especially my grandparents and all my friends. I got tons of notification messages, calls. You need to tell us what's happening. Are you safe? They were very worried.
About Koreans act, take it down, the martial law.
Something I really admire. I was like, as expected of Koreans, they're always very fast, but I didn't know they could be this fast and efficient even in this situation. So I was really like proud of them, you know. Same for them, like at first, you know, they were very worried, but when they found out, they also very admired them. And they said that as Italians, we should learn from Korean people.
Really?
Because in Italy, like we tend to complain a lot when something is not okay, but then we don't really act, like we just complain. But here people complain and act. I saw videos of that night where like people that were inside the parliament, they were shutting the doors and like stacking up desks and stuff not to let the military in. I think that was the most impressive thing. Saw the videos, that was kind of shocking, like in a nice way. I was not expecting to hear K-pop in a protest, but I guess it contributes to the community sense. It's something I support. I saw some posts about it, I didn't see the videos, but again, I'm not surprised because Koreans really value this sense of community and helping each other. I'm not surprised by that. I think it's really nice.
What made you feel like that?
In every situation, when Koreans have a goal, they work really hard to get it. Whether it's career or something they want to accomplish in life, they are very hardworking and very focused on their goals. So that's something I really admire.
In Italy, is there any similar situation?
The most recent thing that I can think of happened like more than 100 years ago, you know, around Second World War. Maybe it's an extreme example, but you know, in Italy we have this dark history during fascism era. No martial law was officially declared, but the opposition party was taken down and it was just a dictatorship from one party. So that's the first thing I thought of when I heard of this situation.
Italians do when
Everyone would be furious, but I don't really know how many people would actually take their time to go and protest, you know?
안녕하세요. 지름인제 시카고입니다. 미국 사람이에요. 한국은 그 2016년에 있어 왔어요.
martial law 됐잖아요.
네.
그때 혹시 무슨 생각이 들었어요?
음악하는 일 때문에 그때는 일어났어요. 한국 남성 친구들이 인스타로 그 군대 복 사진 업로드 했어요. They just said like, oh, is it time to go? Like they were joking. As for my foreigner friends, like I think everybody was quite confused. Most of my friends, we all speak Korean, but of course, like even in English, many people didn't even know what martial law is. There was a lot of misinformation, and information coming out in English was obviously much slower than Korean. Some people were saying like, oh, travel is banned, which since it's like really close to Christmas, everyone was freaking out.
Then did you get any call from your embassy?
No,
Nothing?
no.
Then after that day,
No, there was nobody. Nobody called me. Maybe I lived here too long.
do you have any call from your friends or your family from
Yeah,
US?
well, actually, they were sleeping too. Called my mom right away, and then she was really worried. But then we were just joking about it. I mean, it's a very serious situation, but I think that it was kind of ridiculous. As for my family, my mom worried a lot, but my dad's half Korean,
Oh, really?
So he didn't act very Korean, and he was like, "Does it affect you?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know yet." And he's like, "Okay." And that was the last I heard from him. He's like, "If it affects you, call me." I was like, oh, "Okay." I think he just knew it wouldn't last. I think it was really insane that like every single person who showed up to vote against the martial law, like it was. I think that's really rare to see in politics. So that was really interesting. But
What did you think about it?
I was just talking to my mom on the way here because where I am from in the US, it's where the George Floyd protests happened. And actually during that time, it was right at the beginning of COVID, and I was sent back to the US because I was here on 유학생 visa. I had lived in Korea for a really long time before that, my entire adult life. And that was the first time I've ever experienced like seeing military. I saw snipers on the rooftops and
Sniper?
yeah, just like military walking around the street with like rifles and stuff, and that's scary for somebody who grew up halfway in a country that doesn't even allow pocket knives. So here, seeing like peaceful protests, I think that if it were a situation like the George Floyd protests where people were just recklessly being violent, I think martial law would have been put back into place. But in Korea, people are angry and they're upset, but they're choosing to be peaceful. I guess the impressive part is how many people showed up. And despite the fact that like it's really cold for Seoul right now and people are still showing up, the scale of people who are coming to support, something I'm really impressed with as somebody who works.
What was the most impressive and the Korean action?
People, like right now, if you look around us, people are all sitting on their phones like they're just in their own bubble. But if somebody truly needs help, if somebody says they need help, every time I've seen, people have always gone to help. Like one time my friend, she randomly like just passed out on the subway, and she woke up and all these ajumma were like fanning her and like trying to take care of her. And another, like my dog ran out of my house one day, really bright purple pajamas. I looked insane. My dog's name is Tteokbokki. So I was outside screaming like, "Tteokbokki, 어디야?" And this one ajashi, he stopped and, "Do you need help?" And I was like, "Did you see a dog?" And then he helped me find the dog. And he could have just gone home after that. Like he just showed me, oh, it went down there. And when ajumma, she had it and she was playing with him. When I walked back home, the ajashi, he pulled out some stacks and chocolate and just gave it to me. And I was like, what? And then he was like, "기쁘게 살자." And I was like, it was one of the nicest experiences I think I've had.
Hi, my name is Miguel. I'm from Portugal and I'm 20 years old.
Hi, my name is Antonio. I'm also from Portugal and I'm 25.
I came to Korea 9 months ago for the first time and I've been staying here since.
And now I'm working as an architect for the last 6 months.
What did you do when you heard about the martial law?
When I heard about the martial law, actually I was on a commercial shooting, so it was very sudden and the whole production team kind of talked about it, but at the same time they were focused on the works, so it kind of was swept aside.
For me, I was at home. I received a message saying about the martial law. So I left home and I met some friends and we watched on TV live what was going on.
When I first heard about the martial law, I didn't know what to expect because at the same time Korea feels so safe that any possible threat to this safety doesn't even feel real. In the beginning, people didn't have much information about it, so people were saying like, oh, maybe it's something to do with North Korea. So at the same time, I was a little bit worried, but I had the feeling that I would be safe anyway.
Yeah, me too. I was worried. My family, of course, was very worried, and everyone, my friends and my family, were texting me to ask me if I was okay. But because it ended quickly, they understood I wasn't in danger, so now they're okay.
Yeah, I also got a lot of calls and texts very suddenly from my friends and family because it was on the media everywhere, including in our country, in Portugal. So my mom called me and my siblings also asked me and texted me. So I guess they were kind of worried, but because it ended so soon, like after a few hours, they were very fine with it.
I think the media was also very confused in the beginning. They knew it was something related to North Korea, but it was a little bit confusing to them too.
All the Koreans right now are very unsatisfied with. They also talked about like past Korean presidents and the corruption cases, and
Do you guys got a call from the embassy?
we got a text message saying that first they told us we should stay at home, but then when the martial law was lifted, then they just told us to be careful and just not go to any protests.
Have you watched the Korean protest?
On social media mostly, and also on the Portuguese TV channels, they were showing a few videos about it. It was very impressive because on such a short notice and so late at night. It was crazy that so many people gathered in front of the assembly and protested against this thing. And even it's been like, what, almost 2 weeks now? Yeah, it was so cold.
It's so cold and everyone is there like for so many hours. It's very impressive. Even children, sometimes in the images you can see families. I think it's a very nice thing to see.
We've had good cases of corruption before, and there was never like there were protests, but there were never protests like this. We've had corrupt presidents and like prime ministers in the past, right? But this looks worse. But I feel like also maybe it's a little bit of like of a cultural difference that I feel like in Portugal, when a prime minister is corrupt, we don't feel like guilty for it. I feel like in Korea, a lot of Koreans feel guilty like this. Like I remember seeing a lot of Koreans saying they feel ashamed that they elected this president. While for us, it's more like shame on the president or shame on the prime minister if he was corrupt, and he's the bad guy, not us. That brings us to not protesting as much, maybe.
There is protests, but nothing really happens. And I think here, at least, they go to prison and they have to pay for the consequences. And something like this happens in Portugal, I think people would move in the protest like they did here.
Yeah, I believe so too.
What was the most impressive action of Korean?
Respectful and very nice, even to people that they don't know. I think in Portugal, if it's someone that you don't know, like people sometimes are very disrespectful, and here people always try to respect and be kind. At least they always try to help me, and I really like that.
I feel like something really cool about Korean people is this community feeling that I feel like Koreans have. Of course, if it's very extreme, it can be bad, but cases like this where someone is threatening to take something as big as democracy away from them, this community feeling is really good for a country, because people really gather and people like get together as one and fight for something which everyone wants, and that's really impressive to see. I mean, yeah, that day, of course, this is very serious, so it's expected that there's gonna be people protesting, but so late at night and so cold and so suddenly on a weekday, it was really, really impressive.
My name is Victoria, and I'm from the United States.
Impression when you heard about the martial law in Korea?
I teach business English. I go to bed early because I wake up quite early. So I arrived to my first class at 6 a.m. and my student asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why? What's wrong? What happened?" And he told me. So I realized the next morning at 6 a.m. from my Korean student. And he explained to me that martial law had been, my first question when I heard martial law was instated was, what happened? Why? Right? Because my understanding is that martial law can happen for 3 reasons. 1, there's war. 2, there's like a riot or protest, a wild protest, or a natural disaster. So they need the military to come assist the police in these situations. Fourth reason is military coup. So I thought, okay, what happened? So that was my first reaction. And then my student told me, nothing happened. So I was very confused. How is it possible to instate martial law when there's not a reason?
Did you worried about it?
Yeah, I wasn't worried at all. No,
Really?
I wasn't scared or worried. That's a good question. Why was I not worried? Because living in Korea, there's been a lot of threats from North Korea that are like fake threats, throwing the trash bags and bombing in the ocean nearby Korean islands. So I kind of have been used to that and ignored it. I assumed that this might be the same situation.
How about your foreign friends in Korea?
I think my friends from other countries who have had the military take over the government, it's a very scary situation. And I think they reacted a little bit more cautiously than I did. I just went to work. I did have a friend that day. She texted me and she said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine, no big deal."
Then did you have any call or alert from the embassy, U.S. embassy?
No, I didn't, but my friend, she's Chinese and she did. But I don't follow the embassy on any kind of social media, so maybe they did make an announcement. I'm honestly not sure.
Have you watched the video of the Korean protest?
They're gathering, there's a lot of people gathering. I mean, look all around. That's another interesting thing is that I have a lot of students and they're middle-aged, so they actually experienced protests in the 1980s. So I asked them about their experience and what it was like to participate in the protests, and they said there was a lot of tear gas and sometimes it was really dangerous. And I think that's a good thing about Korea is that they can peacefully protest. And I think that it's a wonderful thing, even though it might be a little bit annoying for a person who's not involved. Amazing to be able to protest and speak speak your opinion comfortably.
Different from the US protest?
I think in the United States, protests are generally okay, but I think it can easily turn into a riot with fire and guns and weapons and other life-threatening things, not just tear gas.
Then living in Korea for about 4 years, then what was your impression about the Korea?
In Korea, I feel so comfortable. I feel so safe because in the United States, the whole world knows that there's a lot of mass shootings, a lot of gun violence, and it's not just like gangs and drug-related situations. Killers go into schools, elementary schools, universities, clubs, and a shopping mall. There's nowhere. Yes, they might be targeting a certain minority group, but what if I'm just there? Or what if I am that minority based on how I identify, you know? And I'm just enjoying my life at a club that might be, Korea feels safe. Korea, I do love that. I do love that. I feel so comfortable here.
What do you think about the Koreans' action to protect our democracy?
So I know a little bit about the political struggles in Korea just from what my middle-aged students have told me about Korea's history. I think Koreans have put in a lot of effort to protect what they believe in. When there's someone in power who they don't agree with, I think Koreans are very ready to make that problem go away because they worked so hard to get to a certain level to protect their democracy. So I think it's very admirable.
My name is Vittoria and I'm from Italy. I arrived here 3 years ago.
What did you do when you heard about the martial law? And what was your first thought?
I was actually laying in my bed and resting, so I think I got the news a bit delayed. At first, I received some messages from my parents and my family, my friends in Italy, and the funny thing is they knew about it right after it happened, and I was kind of confused. I didn't know any special events that happened in the days before, so I was like, why this extreme move all of a sudden? And also my parents they were thinking was related to neighbors so kind of concerning at first, but then I got some other information from internet and other friends living here. They explained better the scenario and I reported to my parents and they were more relieved, but at the same time I couldn't understand well the reasons why that happened, but I was really confused, but at the same time it's weirdly trustworthy for Korean people, because I feel that in this kind of situation they are really compact and they reunite well and face the difficulties in a democratical way, a fully democratic demo that they did. They were really peaceful. There was not violence at all, and everything was really organized. It was kind of shocking to me as well, and to my parents in Italy too. I sent them all the pictures and videos. They were like, wow, they just really try to express their thought and their position without any violence and any problem, not causing problems.
What was the most impressive scene of this protest?
If you see the pictures, there are a ton of people. At the same time, there were no violence again, and they were singing and try to express themselves. And if I compare with my country, I think it's something like this not be possible. We don't follow rules well. The police, they will react more, and the people doing the demonstration will react in a bad way. Maybe it's a generalization, but I think Korea, it's really, in general, really polite and really structured as a democracy. So they also act in a well-behaved way, even in those difficulties. That is really admirable.
Did you get any alert or notification?
No, I didn't get anything. In case it would be, a big problem because we didn't receive anything.
Have you watched the news in Italy?
They sent me a lot of articles. They explain a lot about the situation, even though the news are kind of filtered, what is happening here and what arrived in the other countries, since it's very far away. They speak a lot, surprisingly, about Korea that is really far from us. And martial law is an extreme position to declare. They were really concerned. It's something that also in my country, in the past years, we never experienced. So they were like thinking out maybe something really serious and really worrying like is happening in Korea. Fortunately, everything like solved in a short way. Palli palli is everything in Korea.
My name is Iliana, and I've been in Korea for 5 years.
When you heard about the martial law, what was your first thought?
Actually, I was sleeping when the martial law was announced, and the next morning I woke up to quite a lot of messages from my friends and family asking how I was. So immediately I checked the news, I turned on the TV, and I saw what happened the night before. Quite shocked. It was hard to believe that such a thing can happen in 2024, especially in Korea, as it's known as a country that is modern culture and high in civic awareness. So a lot of people around the world were really shocked.
What was your family's reaction?
I think that in the beginning there was not a lot of details abroad. My father was actually worried whether there was actual threat from North Korea. They just wanted to make sure that everything was okay, and actually most of my friends from Europe, they were very surprised about how the whole situation was resolved in less than 2 hours. Like that politicians gathered, voted against it, and canceled the martial law in less than 2 hours. Because I feel like if something similar happened in Europe, it would probably take weeks, months, even years to resolve it. Yeah.
Do you have any notification from the Bulgarian embassy?
I don't think I got any, no.
Did the Bulgarian news reported?
Next couple of days after the martial law was announced, it was first because of a threat from North Korea and links of the opposition party to North Korea, which was not true and against the constitution and against democracy. There were a lot of clips of people gathering, protesting, and some news also focused on how there was not a lot of violence included in the protests, which is not usually the case in Europe because sometimes protests there get more violent. Quite touching to see people from all ages gathering so quickly. I feel like it really showed one of Korea's society very admirable traits, which is unity. I think most of my friends saw it as very inspiring and very admirable to see protesters also gathered almost immediately as there was a threat to democracy. And I think a lot of people were very inspired and touched to see that the common goal of protecting democracy united all Korean people. I think that one of the things that makes Korea such a developed country is because it still values its traditions technologically. So that thing is one of the things that I really find admirable here, and it really surprised me when I came here.
What does the Bulgarian people act if there's a martial law declared in Bulgaria?
I was also part of that. Yeah, I was a university student at the time. The shocking thing was we protested for 405 days in a row. It was a newly selected government. There was a lot of corruption, suspicious issues regarding the election system, monopolistic laws, and that's why a lot of people were worried about the democracy in Bulgaria. I was inspired to be a part of this group of people and to see how we can all unite in sense of a common goal. In the beginning, they were quite peaceful, but there were several occasions when police used their force. A lot of people arrested, some clashes with the crowd as well.
Then is there anything that you worry about Korea's democracy?
I'm not worried because I really believe that Korean people, Korean lawmakers will be able to go through and resolve this wisely as they have before, and they will protect their democracy. So I think everything will be all right soon.